2023. We have some special presentations today that we are going to do. But before we begin this meeting, I would like to invite Father Reggie to lead us in invocation. He's in my office. They don't know. Father Reggie is the priest from the Notre Dame the Catholic Church. It's located in District 5 on Northwest 62nd Street, and it is one of the largest Haitian churches in Miami-Dade County. So it's an honor to have Father Reggie give us our invocation today. Thank you, Father Reggie.
May I kindly ask you to please bow your heads as we pray for God's blessing. Heavenly Father, God of all ages, God of all nations, God of all peoples, God of history, we come before you this morning in thanksgiving for who you are and for what you have done for us. Through history, you have helped us to define the facticity of our beings and to help us to be who we are and what we can become. As we come together this morning to celebrate the Black History Month, the heritage of our cultures, the legacy of those who have worked so hard to make us who we are and where we are today, we ask that you fill each and every one of us with the gift of the Holy Spirit, the spirit of service, the spirit of fidelity, the spirit of commitment and perseverance, so that we can continue to journey on the path that you have set for us. The chapters, the pages of our history have been tainted with a lot of sufferings, marginalization, deceptions, things that makes us suffer. But through our suffering, you have been very faithful to us, Lord. You have always been there for us. You have empowered those who came before us to pave the journey, to pave the way so that we can accomplish all that we have accomplished. We celebrate that fidelity, Lord. And today we ask in the spirit of that fidelity that you inspire us, that you inspire your servants here present, all the commissioners and all the people who are working so hard to keep the city of Miami what it is. May you continue to inspire our community, more especially the African American community, so that we can be who we are, so that we can continue to be and to become what you call us to be and to become a sign of hope, a presence of compassion, presence of justice for all. May you continue to give us strength to be that great witnesses of mercy, the witnesses of justice in a world where we are living under the dictatorship of indifference. Continue to journey with us, Lord, so that we walk on the path of our ancestors and be the catalyst of change as you call us to become in this great season of Lent. We entrust this meeting, we entrust this celebration into your hands. Let your glory shine upon us and through us, so that in everything we do, in the people we are, like Paul stated in Galatians 2:20, they can say it's not us who live, but Christ lives in us. Not just today, but tomorrow and forever. Amen.
Amen. And at this time, I will ask Commissioner Manolo Reyes to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Sadly, our community lost a spiritual leader, Father Major of the Church of the Incarnation, passed away, and I would like us all to take a moment of silence in respect for that spiritual leader. May Father Major rest in peace. He has done wonderful things in our community, and he will be sadly missed. And at this time, I'm going to have the City of Miami Choir come, and they are going to lead us in a song in honor of Black History Month. Don't they look amazing? That is our City of Miami choir, and they are amazing. I am so proud to be your commissioner and your chairwoman for the City of Miami. That was beautiful. We have another, Commissioner Reyes, do you have some proclamations? Yes, I do. Okay. And I have another presentation as well. Okay, well, I don't know where, we can start with yours because, no, I don't know why they haven't come out of my office yet. On cue. Gail, we should have gotten a picture with them. We should get a picture with them. And come up here. We should get a picture. Yeah, we're gonna get a picture with the choir and, no, right here. This is our Black History Celebration Choir. And if you enjoyed their performance, you will get a chance to see them again on February 28th at the MRC. Yes? And on the 24th, where are you going to be at? 25th? At Charles Hadley Park for the Black History Celebration at Charles Hadley Park. Now, can you all say your names and what departments you work for? Come on.
Good morning. My name is Carol Elaine Brown. I'm with the Department of Finance as Senior Financial Analyst.
Good morning. My name is Gail Say. I work for the Mayor's Office. I'm a Deputy Director of Constituent Affairs.
Good morning. My name is Charquisha Willis. I work for HR, and I'm an HR generalist.
Good morning. My name is Tracy Rollins. I work for the zoning department. I am the assistant to the zoning director, administrator.
Good morning. I'm Torella Johnson, HR record supervisor.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brian Harris, and I'm a solid waste inspector.
Good morning. My name is Adrian McCartney, and I am a solid waste inspector.
Good morning. My name is Anna Jackson, and I'm a finance manager in the Treasury Department of Finance.
Good morning. My name is Faye McFadden, and I'm a property specialist. I work for City of Miami Police.
Good morning. My name is Ricky Hemingway. I am a sanitation inspector. Nice to meet you all.
Let's give them another round of applause. Woo! All right. Where am I going to fit in? Over this way? No, I don't want to crush the... Thank you again. At this time, I'm going to present Arts Forever. Adonis Parker and his son, Adonis Jr. Adonis Parker is an artist and an entrepreneur. He has a program that teaches art to youth in the Liberty City community. I have known Adonis for over 15 years now. I consider him to be a friend. I know all of the good works that he has done throughout the years to teach our children the beauty of creating in several different mediums. And I'd like to present him today with a check for $50,000 to continue his art program for our youth. Say something.
Oh, thank you for thinking of not only myself, my family, but the children in the inner city. This is amazing, and may God continue to bless you in your movements, in your hands, in your work. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, everyone. This is truly a blessing. Just the stuff that we're able to do in the community. We've contributed so much time and effort, and God has definitely blessed us, beyond measure with this opportunity to do more. So we just congratulate, my dad, and I'm just grateful to see this, continue because it is very much needed in our community. So again, thank you, Ms. Christine, and everyone that is a part. We appreciate you, and we hope for more. Thank you.
Yep.
And this is a double success story because my colleague had an opportunity to see Adonis's work, see him work in the community with the children, and thought it not robbery to also support him.
Absolutely. I had the opportunity to go see Adonis, and I was amazed at the kind of work that he was doing, not just in the arts and the murals that they were painting in the community, but how he was dedicating his time, how patient he was, loving, with the young adults, teenagers that he had with him, teaching them how to paint, and many more of the things that young teenagers need to learn so they could be good citizens. And this is why we also have done something else to give Adonis another award, because we want his program with the inner city young adults to be able to extend itself so they can teach many of those extremely talented young adults how to paint properly, how to do different types of painting. And we recently had a contest for the Dogs and Cats Walkway. And we were amazed of just how much talent there was in Miami. Unknown talent that is not being given an opportunity to be seen or shown. And if any of you have any doubts in what I'm saying, just go over by the museums in Maurice Ferré Park and walk through the sculpture gardens and see 57 different statues of dogs and cats that all were painted by local artists. And you will be amazed of what you're going to see and leave there very, very happy, like thousands of people already have.
Thank you. I must thank you in the name of the community for your commitment to the community. We need more people like you. We need more citizens like you, that they are committed to the community and they don't only speak about it, they take action. And you took action, and we can see the results on the young people that they are learning how to become better citizens, artists, and some of them, I bet you, they're going to become entrepreneurs. I know that. So thank you very much, and this is an example that everybody in every community should follow. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You ready for yours?
Yes. Yes. You see, we have, Chief, could you please come up here? Okay. And do we have Commander Frederick around here? He's not? I want the police to come here. You see, when you look at, you see the news, many times we watch criticism of the police, and many people don't know what our police officers do that goes unnoticed. They are protecting us in every single way, and we must show our appreciation. I know about this case in particular because it was in my neighborhood where a lady was robbed at gunpoint. A lady was robbed in a parking lot of a CVS. And we got three dedicated detectives that they took upon themselves to solve that case. And it just happened that my cameras, the cameras in my home, they picked the automobile and they could trace the automobile. But that's not all. They did what I will say is all-time real detective work. They went and they walked, they knocked on doors, and finally they caught the culprits. They called the criminals. And they were very surprised because they thought that they had committed a perfect crime. No, they didn't, because they didn't count on the dedication of Detective Volkan Erzozlu, Detective Christopher Pujadas, and Detective Maximilian Kinnan. This is a true example what dedicated professional police officers are, and they should be imitated by everybody and should be shown as an example of people that really, really take the job seriously. Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you. And to that effect, the city of Miami, we are given a certificate of appreciation for your dedication and our gratitude. Detective Maximilian Kinnan. Detective Pujadas. And Detective Erzozlu. Thank you. And you guys, you gotta be very proud of your puppy, okay? And the whole family should be very proud. And if the family come up, so we can take a picture with the family too. Come on. Okay. Chief, great job. Sure. And cases like this happens every day, and I want everybody to know. But they go unnoticed. But I couldn't let this pass by without noticing and showing our appreciation for the professionalism. Y pueden ir a la casa a tomar café otra vez. Okay. Where's grandma? Abuela. ¿Dónde está abuela? Ahí viene abuela. No, abuela, tómate tu tiempo, que aquí no estamos apurados. No. Abuela, aquí. Ahí con el nieto. Chief, you want to say something?
Absolutely. We're good with the pictures?
One more picture.
Okay.
You guys got film this time, right?
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, everyone. This is a case that truly deserves the recognition that it's getting this morning. And the Commissioner kind of touched on it, and I appreciate the fact that when there is good work that has been done, the Commission has always had our back. They have always never been shy to kind of step up to the plate and pay the accolades to the police department. And I've always told everyone, at the top, the chiefs and I work hard to come up with a strategy, but the boots on the ground, the detectives are the ones that do the job. And this one was specifically heinous crime. It was a hearing impaired young woman that got viciously pistol whipped. And this detectives, the only word that I can think of is tenacity. They never gave up. They went through old school means. They were walking the beat, knocking door to door, looking for video footage. They came up with 1,400 possible leads to a vehicle and were able to narrow it down and able to find the vehicle responsible and brought the two violent criminals to justice. So for that, we thank you. Keep up the good work. This is only a small sample of the great work that these gentlemen do each and every day, and for that you have an eternal gratitude. You make Miami better. You make Miami safer. Thank you.
That's awesome. Awesome work. Thank you. And at this time, I believe we are going to begin our City of Miami Commission meeting. Madam City Attorney, would you like to read your?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Detailed information about the processes, order of business, rules of procedure, and scheduling or rescheduling of City Commission meetings can be found in Chapter 2, Article 2 of the City Code. A copy is available online at www.municode.com. Any person who is a lobbyist pursuant to Chapter 2, Article 6 of the City Code must register with the City Clerk and comply with related city requirements for lobbyists before appearing before the City Commission. A person may not lobby a city official, board member, or staff member until registering. A copy of the code section about lobbyists is available in the City Clerk's office or online at www.municode.com. Any person making a presentation, formal request, or petition to the City Commission concerning real property must make the disclosures required by the City Code in writing. A copy of this code section is available at the office of the City Clerk or online at municode.com. The City of Miami requires that anyone requesting action by the City Commission must disclose before the hearing any consideration provided or committed to anyone for agreement to support or withhold objection to the requested action pursuant to City Code Section 2-8. Any documents offered to the City Commission that have not been provided 7 days before the meeting as part of the agenda materials will be entered into the record at the City Commission's discretion. In accordance with Section 2-33F and G of the City Code, the agenda and material for each item on the agenda is available during business hours at the City Clerk's office and online 24 hours a day at www.miamigov.com. Any person may be heard by the City Commission through the chair for not more than 2 minutes on any proposition before the City Commission, unless modified by the chair. Public comment will begin at approximately 10 a.m. and remain open until public comment is closed by the chair. Members of the public wishing to address the body may do so by submitting written comments via the online comment form. Please visit www.miamigov.com/meeting instructions for detailed instructions on how to provide public comment using the online public comment form. The comments submitted through the comment form have been and will be distributed to elected officials and city administration throughout the day so that the elected officials may consider comments prior to taking any action. Additionally, the online comment form will remain open during the meeting to accept comments and distribute to elected officials up until the chair closes public comment. Public comment may also be provided live at City Hall, located at 3500 Pan American Drive, Miami, Florida, subject to any and all city rules as they may be amended. If the proposition is being continued or rescheduled, the opportunity to be heard may be at such later date before the City Commission takes action on such proposition. When addressing the City Commission, the member of the public must first state their name, their address, and what item will be spoken about. Any person with a disability requiring assistance, auxiliary aids, and services for this meeting may notify the city clerk. The city has provided different public comment methods to indicate, among other things, the public's support, opposition, or neutrality on the items and topics to be discussed at the City Commission meeting in compliance with Section 286.0114 Florida statutes. The public has been given the opportunity to provide public comment during the meeting and within reasonable proximity and time before the meeting. Please note, commissioners have generally been briefed by the city staff and city attorney's office on item on the agenda today. Anyone wishing a verbatim record of an item considered at this meeting may request it at the Office of Communications or view it online at www.miamigov.com. P&Z items shall proceed according to 7.1.4 of the Miami 21 zoning ordinance as temporarily modified pursuant to emergency ordinance numbers 13903 and 13914. Parties for any PZ items, including any applicant, appellant, appellee, city staff, and any person recognized by the decision-making body as a qualified intervener, as well as the applicant's representatives, and any experts testifying on behalf of the applicant, appellant, or appellee may either be physically present at City Hall to be sworn in by oath or affirmation by the city clerk, or may appear virtually and make arrangements to be sworn in by oath or affirmation in person at their location by an individual qualified to perform such duty. Pursuant to emergency ordinance number 13903, members of the general public who are not parties to an action pending before the City Commission are not required to be sworn in by oath or affirmation. The members of the City Commission shall disclose any ex parte communications pursuant to Florida Statute 286.0115 and Section 7.1.45 of the Miami 21 zoning ordinance. The order of presentation shall be as set forth in Miami 21 and in the city code. Staff will briefly present each item to be heard. The applicant will present its application or request to the City Commission. If the applicant agrees with the staff recommendation, the City Commission may proceed to its deliberation and decision. The applicant may also waive the right to an evidentiary hearing on the record. For appeals, the appellant will present its appeal to the City Commission, followed by the appellee. Staff will be followed to make any recommendation they may have. Please silence any cell phones and other noise-making devices at this time. This meeting can be viewed on Miami TV, the city's Facebook page, the city's Twitter page, the city's YouTube channel, and Comcast Channel 77. The broadcast will also have closed captioning. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. Mr. City Clerk?
Thank you, Chair. The procedures for individuals providing testimony to be sworn in for planning and zoning items and any quasi-judicial items on today's City Commission agenda will be as follows. Members of city staff or any other individuals required to be sworn in or currently present at City Hall will be sworn by me, the city clerk, immediately after I finish explaining these procedures. Those individuals who are appearing remotely may be sworn in now or at any time prior to the individual providing testimony for planning and zoning items and or quasi-judicial items. Pursuant to emergency ordinance number 13903, those individuals appearing remotely may be sworn in at their location by an individual qualified to administer the oath. After you're sworn in, please be sure to complete, sign, and notarize the affidavit provided to you by the City Attorney's Office. Each individual who provides testimony must be sworn in and execute an affidavit. Please email a scanned version of the signed affidavit to the City Clerk at thannon@miamigov.com prior to providing testimony on the planning zoning item and or quasi-judicial item. The affidavit shall be included in the record for the relevant item for which you will be providing testimony. Commissioners, are you comfortable with all the notice provisions set forth in the uniform rules and procedures we have established for this meeting?
Yes,
Chair may administer the oath.
please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If you'll be speaking on any of today's planning and zoning items, may I please have you stand and raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at today's hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And your response is? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And I'd like to take this moment to wish my mother a happy birthday. She's celebrating her 81st birthday tomorrow, and she would love it that I say it up here. So, happy birthday, Mom. No, no. It's enough that I have acknowledged her and acknowledged that she's turning 81. She's very proud of that, and she's so healthy. She still goes to the gym. She walks like 2-3 miles a day with her puppy, and I'm just so honored to have my mom here still with me that I can call on for advice and just speak to her whenever I want to, although I don't speak to her as often as I should, according to my mom, not according to me. But, you know, our mothers are so special, and I do not take it for granted that she is still here with me. So thank you all for helping me wish my mother a happy birthday. And at this time, I'm going to ask our city manager if he has any items that he would like to have withdrawn or deferred or continued.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Madam City Attorney, Mr. City Clerk. At this time, the administration would like to defer and or withdraw the following items. PH3 to be deferred to March 9th. PH4 to be deferred to March 9th. PH5 to be deferred to March 9th. PH6 to be deferred to March 9th. And PH7 to be deferred to March 9th. That concludes the items.
Mr. Vice Chair, do you continue? Mr. Vice Chair? Mr. Vice Chair, are there any items that you would like to defer? I don't believe so. Okay. Commissioner Reyes? No? All right. So we have our consent agenda up, CA 1, 2, 3.
Chair, is there a motion on the deferrals?
May I have a motion to?
Commissioner Reyes made the motion, seconded by Chair King.
Yes. All in favor? All right.
Commissioner Reyes?
But do we have to open for?
We have the consent agenda. Hold on a second. We need to.
Yes, right.
We need to have public comments.
Public comments
at
and
this time. Are there anyone here who would like to speak on any issue that is before the commission today for public comments? Good morning, sir.
Yes, Scott Silver, 2980 McFarlane Road, Miami, Florida, 33133. On PZ12, I'm here on behalf of Dade Heritage Trust. We'll address that more at length, but we would ask that that be deferred as well. It's an appeal of the PZAB ruling. The Marine Stadium boat ramp still has to go before the HEP board. So rather than take this piecemeal, we'd prefer that go before the HEP board first. It's been deferred twice. Let that hearing take place, and we can come and make a full presentation on PZAB issues and HEP board issues together, rather than do this piecemeal. If you're inclined to go ahead, we'll present the PZAB, but I don't think that'll be a full presentation of all the issues. It's a significant matter involving taking up 15 out of the 45 acres at Marine Stadium, so I think it's a matter of great public importance that should not be dealt with on a piecemeal basis. So we would ask that that be put off until after the HEP board makes its findings.
If I may, Chair, I'm confused. What does this item have to do with historic anything?
There's a historic designation of the Marine Stadium, including 100-foot wide corridors on either side, and the basin itself is historically designated. So the ramp and the docks that are extending into the historic basin do impact that as well. Also, the Virginia Key Master Plan that includes, basically as its core issue, preserving the Marine Stadium for a future development, whatever it's going to be. We don't know what it's ultimately going to be, would be gravely impacted by this because it will take up the area to allow the trailers to come in, boat trailers to come in, takes up almost 2.5 acres, and then the overall parking field essentially for this would take up 15 acres. It impacts the view planes to the historic Marine Stadium, and it impacts the potential to use this as a Marine Stadium in the future. This is under a Dade County grant, a deed that has deed restrictions saying it's only to be used for Marine Stadium purposes, that any revenues derived from it are to be placed back into that. So there are a number of things that would it potentially impact the historic. We don't know until we have a true master plan that's a true design that's approved, a site plan that's actually approved to reconstitute the Marine Stadium. So if we do this, we're kind of putting the cart before the horse. We're putting a $1.25 million fined grant is going to take precedence and decide how, a potential $100 million, multi-$100 million future plan for this.
Through the chair,
Good morning.
I have one question because I'm still confused.
Well,
Your
this, okay, after this one, because this is better
Okay,
left for
okay,
our
I just want to
PZ
know, your argument is against extending because the ramp exists. You are extending the ramp, that's all, because it's going into the basin?
No, there was an old concrete portion that was used for the boat races. This was the pit for the boat races.
Okay.
But
I just wanna-
it's a dock the dock goes 90 feet into the basin.
Okay,
So
thank
that
you.
was not there.
Thank you.
Good morning. Just to speak on the deferral, Amanda Corrigan, Special Counsel for the City of Miami Administration on this item. And we respectfully request that the item go forward today. This is an appeal of an exception. It's separate criteria under Miami 21, Section 7.1.2.6. The historic preservation review and approval would be for a certificate of appropriateness regarding the boat ramp, but we don't know what the Historic Preservation Board is going to do, and the procedural posture of a potential appeal could be significantly different. So the criteria are different. The city administration is ready to go today, and we respectfully request that the item be heard.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here for public comment? Pertaining to the issues on the agenda, yes. Good morning.
Good morning, Christine Rupp, Dade Heritage Trust. I'm here also to speak regarding the boat ramp appeal. And strictly from a historic preservation standpoint, obviously the main concern of Dade Heritage Trust is the preservation and restoration of the Miami Marine Stadium. And we understand that there is a financial feasibility study out there right now to determine what actions the city might take regarding the Marine Stadium. So in our thinking, we believe that approving a boat ramp that's adjacent to the stadium and could potentially impact the operation of the stadium is premature. And we would just ask that you wait on this decision until you have all of the information, all the financial information in front of you to see how best to operate that site. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, everybody.
Jeremy Kaios Gauger. I'm here on behalf of the administration for the Village of Key Biscayne. Also to talk about PZ12, the boat ramp. Although the village doesn't have a position on the boat ramp, whatever you decide, we have a very, very specific request. And our concern comes from the potential traffic impact on Rickenbacker Causeway, which is the lifeline for emergency services, et cetera, for Virginia, through Virginia Key for Key Biscayne. So it's critical for our sustained operation. And so our specific concern is a particular detail in the layout, which is currently the design shows the boat ramp and it delineates some parking spaces. I believe the number is 72, don't quote me on that, which is a reasonable number in terms of it shouldn't impact traffic. However, the current drawings only show paint on asphalt with no curbs, no physical barriers between that parking and the rest of the very, very large site. If there's no separation, that could turn into a pretty chaotic situation. So our very, very specific, humble request is that some physical barriers be included so that we really limit the actual activity to what's shown on the drawings. And so that's to limit the parking and to limit the impact on the traffic, because it's our lifeline. So
I'm curious about something. Your main concern is traffic?
Potential traffic impact on the
Potential
Rickenbacker.
traffic impact on the Key, okay? Would the village council agree to stop all new construction of any high-rises, any additional buildings in Key Biscayne, if we would agree to that?
That is a question
Because
better asked for the village
you
council.
guys have impacted traffic in Virginia Key tremendously throughout the years by the approval of, I don't know how many high-rises over there. And I'm really concerned of how many more you could approve into the future that would impact traffic on Virginia Key. In particular, the Cuban listers, you know, a lot of them have been getting run over by so much traffic.
So
they might become extinct.
I can't speak for the village council. What I can speak for is that the Key Biscayne is nearly 100% built out, so there's not a lot of room for a lot of additional.
I think you get the message.
I do.
What's good for the goose should be good for the gander. And, you know, you guys only have a one-way, you know, of looking at things. It's two ways. And most of the traffic that's there, it wasn't created by the city of Miami in any way, in Virginia Key of all places. It was created by Key Biscayne. So every time that I hear the village of Key Biscayne coming to complain on anything that we're going to do at Virginia Key, I'm sorry, but I find it extremely hypocritical. And this is nothing related to you personally, because I don't know you. I'm sure you're a fine, distinguished individual. But, you know, you could deliver the message any way you so see fit.
Okay.
Thank you. Good
Thank you.
morning.
Good morning. My name is Richard Wilkie, and I'm here with the United Boaters of Dade in support of the revitalization and expansion of the Miami Marina Stadium and boat ramp. We as a group wish to promote the ability of boaters to have access to our city's waterways. We also advocate for safe watercraft operation. The majority of the jet ski incidents that we all know of are not from our community. The opening of the ramp and others in the future will help in providing law enforcement presence in this area as well as others. We enjoyed taking our friends, family, and children out on the water, so we also want to be safe and respectful watercraft operation. The Basin and Miami Marine Stadium were purpose-built for motorboat racing, the first of its kind in the world. We feel as a community that it should continue to be utilized for its intended purpose. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you. Good morning, Elvis.
Good morning, Commissioner. I wish to speak on two separate items today. First of all, I'm going to speak on the Marine Stadium. The the boat ramp. The stadium has always had a boat ramp. It's even in your city code, section 53-52, paragraph 7. I am an avid historic preservationist and a life member of Dade Heritage Trust. The Marine Stadium was built and the basin was dug specifically for motorboat racing. The ramp's been there for 6 decades. It should never have been closed after Hurricane Andrew, but it's wonderful that the city now wants to reopen it. Thank you. This is a wonderful opportunity to increase public access to the water. Some people want to keep out all motorboats because a minority of jet skiers are reckless. Please don't punish everyone for the sins of a few. The boat ramp will not interfere with the bay walk. By the way, you can see what I have on the screen. On the left side, that's the piers that they want to build, the boat ramp. And you can see it's completely behind the shoreline of the basin, would not interfere with the basin in any way. Mangroves, which can interfere with the bay walk and the boat ramp, the city mitigated that. Please remember that, commissioners. The city mitigated mangroves. It can be done. This project is an excellent example of historic preservation. If Dade Heritage Trust's mission is to advocate for historic preservation, why are they opposing the city's effort to restore the use of a historic public amenity at a historic public facility? That makes no sense. Are we going to send the message that we like the boat show and its $1.34 billion of economic benefit, but we don't want people to use boats? That makes no sense. In closing, boaters are families and fishermen. Please do the right thing for the public by supporting this plan to restore and reopen the boat ramp. And now I'd like to speak on a different item. May I speak to that other item?
Elvis, your time has just run out.
Yes, but there's more than one item that I'd like to speak to. Can I have 30 seconds?
I'm going to allow you, but it's 2 minutes per person, public comment, because then I'd run into the issue where someone might say, well, I'm speaking on 50 items, and then it would just continue. So it's not, the policy is you have 2 minutes for public comment, and that will cover all of your public comment. And then I saw the precedent, and I've been very firm with my 2 minutes. I've been very firm with my 2 minutes. So
May I have 30 seconds?
30 seconds.
Okay.
And now that you know,
Well,
now that you understand.
thank you.
Okay, go
Thank
ahead.
you,
Madam
Commissioner
Chair.
King?
I'm sorry.
This is actually a historic moment that Elvis actually agrees with the administration, so it was a beautiful moment.
It is. Share the love.
In time.
Okay.
Okay, regarding PZ 5 and 6, the upzoning on Northwest 39th Street, Commissioner King, please put on your lawyer hat. There is trickery at play here. The developer cannot legally apply for an upzoning from T3L to T3O, so they applied for T4, and they're asking you to compromise down to T3O. It's an old trick. We've seen it many times. It's a wicked attempt to evade the law. Section 7128 requires that the applicant has to show why the existing zoning is inappropriate. But there's nothing inappropriate about single-family zoning. It's all over the city. And David Snow, Assistant Planning Director, admitted that this is appropriate zoning when it came before the PZAB. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Chair, if I can, I was just informed that the gentleman from Key Biscayne was our old Assistant Planning Director. I didn't recognize him.
Yeah.
I don't know what he did, but
They get younger. Everyone
don't
gets
know.
younger when they
He-
leave, Commissioner.
he just has this new look that I didn't recognize. I'm sorry, Jeremy.
That's nice, too.
Good morning.
Good morning, Denise Galvez. I live at 2130 Southwest 20th Street. I'm also on the city's Historic and Environmental Preservation Board, but I'm here to speak as a resident, not about the use of the boat ramp or the traffic, even though I agree with those 2 points. Basically, what I'm asking is for you to defer the item until the Historic Board has had a chance to review the entire plan, because what we do know is a fact is that the entire site is historically preserved and that this will affect the future of that site. So until we have more information, I think it's wise and a good use of our time and resources and not waste any more of the time and resources of the city or our volunteer board, and let us have the entire site plan presented to us before we decide on any boat ramp that will for sure affect the future of that site. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Zach Kerrigan, 32330 Southwest 204th Ave, and I am the founder and president of United Boaters of Dade. I started this group in, let me raise this, in support of the boaters' rights, and also I have 3 daughters, so in 20 years, they can enjoy boating in Miami just like myself. I want to speak on that. I don't believe this needs to be deferred. Their appeal was with the prior ruling, not necessarily the head board. So 2 things I want to talk on. The city of Miami just hosted the largest boat show in the world, $1.34 billion economic impact. All right, we need to send a message to the city of Miami and Miami-Dade County that we care about boating in Miami. Someone says there was never a boat ramp there for public use. Let me quote Miami City Ordinance 53-52, Section 7, and it states, "The public shall have access to the boat hoist and boat ramp facilities at the Marine Stadium during daylight hours at times when events are not being conducted." With that being said, it's not going to impact the Marine Stadium and its use when they want to have events there, and we're fine with that. So that's all I want to say. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners.
Chair, can I ask him a question? Sir? Sir? You don't seem to be one of those that come down from Mount Olympus, the elitist few. You seem to be a regular Joe the Plumber type.
Yes, sir.
How many boat ramps do we have now in the city of Miami or even in Miami-Dade County? There's so few. So the average person that has a small boat, 15, 16, 20-footer, 20-plus feet, doesn't have a place to take their boat out. You have to be part of the wealthy, the rich and famous, that has to have a bigger boat, be able to put it in a marina or put it in one of the racks, they're still very expensive, to be able to go out and enjoy the bay. And the bay is for everyone. It's not just for a few that are very wealthy and can afford it. That's not what the American dream is about. You are correct, and so is Elvis in what he stated. That boat ramp is under city ordinance. It's been there for years. I remember as a kid, that boat ramp was there. So I don't know what the big deal is, but I keep hearing about this big new map that we made of the Virginia Key area. But I will tell you, when I was mayor, we had a very different version, except for one part that stayed the same. And that was for the soccer fields in that area that hopefully can become a reality for next year. But everything else has changed. And you know why it changed so drastically? Because after I was gone, a future mayor, the one I believe just before Mayor Suarez, changed the whole board so that the master plan would have been redone. I'm not sure when it was done, but the board was changed. So now we have a board that the vast majority of it are not City of Miami residents. And they have a different way of looking at things. You have individuals that feel that they're part of the Mount Olympus crowd, the elitists. And Virginia Key is for everyone to enjoy, not just for a few, just like the boat ramps. We need a boat ramp here in Coconut Grove. I remember as a kid, my father taking me out in a 16-footer that he had, and we would go out off of here in Coconut Grove. Different times we would go out of Virginia Key or the county ramp on the other side. And we were able to enjoy the bay because we had these ramps. If we don't have ramps, then how is the average person with a small boat supposed to go out and enjoy the bay? It will be impossible.
Madam Chair, I want to add what Commissioner Carollo is saying, because in my district, District 4, and around Flagami, there are a lot of hardworking individuals and families that they own small boats. Not everybody can pay, and you are absolutely right, can pay to have their boat at a marina or one of those racks. And besides, they are full. Even if you want to hire somebody, rent one of those spaces, you can't because they are full. And most of the people that they loved boating and they made a sacrifice and they bought a boat, they need a place where they can, they need a ramp to put in the boat, the water. So I think and that ramp been there, that's what I said before. The ramp was there forever. What is the complaint is about the basin or about the ramp? Because there's no argument about the ramp. The ramp was there. The only thing that we're doing is we are making it better and bringing it back. That's it. You see? That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Maria Rodriguez.
Can you put that down? We can hear you. Great, thank
My name
you.
is Maria Elena Rodriguez, aka Kitty. I would like to discuss SR 131.39 when we were talking about a limited time when people give you their minutes. According to this, the Virginia Key Trust, when we were discussing the last time that I was here with the Virginia Key, the gentleman spoke for 45 minutes. According to this, it was deferred on 126 for people not to be able to defer their minutes to another person. You're supposed to come in today and we're supposed to discuss that. I'd like to know where do we stand on that when it comes to people saying, well, I give you her minutes and whatnot.
The legislation will come up later on today. Throughout our, as our meeting unfolds, we'll get to that.
Because it would be nice for us to be able to get our minutes and have people to say what we need to say.
Well, the legislation does allow for someone to give their minutes, but not 100 people to give one person their minutes.
So that will be a cap on that, how many people
There
are allowed?
There is going to be a cap, yes.
Okay, thank you so
Okay.
much.
Cap
Thank
for
you.
3 additional minutes, so you could have a total of 5 minutes.
7.
Pardon?
It was 5, I believe.
7 minutes.
5.
A total of
Well,
5
5
with
if we-
super majority.
If we vote on it, and then we can get 7. But if you have a convincing argument that it is necessary additional, because that was my, and still is my concern. There are sometimes that we have very technical items that they require experts to speak either in favor or against. And if that's the case, I think that we should allow a little more time.
That would
people to
be
do it.
so advantageous.
So yes,
to us.
there are safeties built into it. And the purpose of it is to continue to allow everyone to have a voice and to be able to come here and share your concerns with this body. And
Thank
we
you.
will continue to listen.
God bless you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, all. My name is Franz, F-R-A-N-T-Z, last name E-L-O-I. I live at 68 Northwest 39th Street. I'm in the proud district of number 5. We have before us today PZ5 and PZ6. 39th Street sits directly across the street from the design district. 11 years ago, I stood in front of you and I fought against Craig Robbins of the design district on behalf of my community, and I won. I regretted it. I regretted it because once they have won, they have turned their back on our community. It's a case that we could have sat down and worked things out and benefit both parties. Well, today comes another investor, because we prime properties for investors, that sits in front of you, is going to be asking you to turn a T4 to a TO. They did meet with us this time around, and we agreed as a community to bypass the T4 and make it a TO, and there's quite a few TO in the community already. So I urge you to yes for this particular item, Because once you state that, then the community now has gotten some investors in the community that we can work with. Thank you.
Thank you. And this concludes the public comment for today. We will proceed now. You've already spoken. We got your comment.
I did not.
You didn't come up?
No.
Oh, you just spoke to me. Sorry. Go ahead.
My name is Ulysses Kemp. I reside at 76 Northwest 39th Street, Miami, and I'm the president of Buena Vista Heights Neighborhood Association. I'm here to speak on PZ 5 and 6, and as France said, the developer did meet with the neighborhood, and we had some interesting comments with the PZ board. Actually, they had some interesting comments to make to us regarding the application for T4. This was something that they said that this is common practice. They will ask for T4 just to try to work it down to what they really wanted, which is the T3O. There are no T3Os in Buena Vista Heights neighborhood at this time. And I've looked at some of the other two-story buildings that were built in our neighborhood, and they're built within the code that's already existing in our neighborhood. We have several neighbors which have applied for comments online, and they are in the system if you want to look at them. They're making comments that they don't care for any zoning changes. At this point in time, we're trying to maintain the integrity of the residential neighborhood.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on behalf of any item on this agenda at this time? Seeing none, the public comment period is now closed. We may start with our consent agenda item. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I move CA1 to CA7.
I have a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to move the consent agenda items. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Motion for PH1
And 2?
through PH7.
No, they have been, 3 to 7 was the third, Commissioner.
Right.
Those
So,
we have
yeah,
1 and
yeah,
2.
Yeah, right. It's PH1,
And 2.
All the way through 7.
PH2.
Second.
Okay. Madam City Attorney, 4/5. Is that 4/5 of the commission or 4/5
That's a good
of
question.
the body present?
That's a good question.
Of the commission, so it would have to be 4 votes, not of those present. When it says of those present, then it's whoever's here, or if it quorum, but when it just says of the commission, it's of the body.
Okay.
Okay, I had the same.
So may I have a motion to pass the resolutions RE 1, 2, 3?
My apologies,
No, we
Chair.
haven't voted on PH1 and
PH1 and 2 we haven't voted on. That's right. Yeah, PH1
moved
and
by
2.
Commissioner Carollo, second by me.
Yeah.
Thought they were all 4/5. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion RE1 through RE4.
Second.
And
All
Chair,
in- all
Chair,
in-
just for the record, I think the budget director needs to make a brief statement. RE4 is to be amended on the floor.
Okay.
Good morning, Chairwoman, Commissioners. We are making a couple of amendments to RE4 into the exhibit that's attached to that item. All the project numbers that had to be determined now have project numbers been assigned to them. And line 66 on the amendment is also being changed to reflect the amount that was being transferred was over 300,000, now 269,621,000. That's what the change is for that item. And then the difference, which is $94,000, is going to line 79 to the Upper East Side District Office renovation and the MPD K-9 training. And also adding another line, 80, from B717377 to project number, which is $58,000. It's also going for the Upper East Side District Office renovation in the amount of $58,000. And there's also another item being added for line 81, going from project number B73102B to 40-B203608, which is traffic calming in the amount of $400,000. And that's it.
Do I have a motion to accept the amendment?
Go ahead.
There's a motion and a second to accept the amendment
There is.
and a motion to approve the RE items. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Motion for SR1 through SR4. Discussion. SR4. The concern that I have, Chairwoman, is that, as I have been told, we really only have had 13 cases or complaints under this pilot program. After further review, I believe the director told my office that there were some additional 40, but they were not under this code, which means those 40s will be wiped out once we pass this out. My concern is that we're not being active at all in this and enforcing any of it. And it's your district, it's Wynwood, which, you know, it's another world unto itself. But I don't know the legalities of how this is going to be able to play out if we're challenged. The 100 feet has been challenged, and that stood. But I'm very concerned this going into other areas of our city right now.
Well, you know this is for city-owned property. This is specific to city-owned property, and I believe that it has been working. We are extending the pilot program an additional year. It went along quite smoothly, and I believe that it will continue to do so. And at any time, if the intent of the legislation is not being, is not being adhered to, then we are welcome to come back and revisit it. But it is a good legislation for this area, and I believe our code enforcement director would like to say something on this.
Good morning, Commissioners, Madam Chairwoman. Robert Santos-Arbona, Co-Compliance Director. The pilot program, as I understand it, specifically from feedback from the Wynwood Business Improvement District, has been working rather effectively. They are very pleased with the process. As I had mentioned during our discussion, one of the concerns that I have is that we're going with a assessment of and utilizing decibel readers, which is kind of a new process. And so for now, my recommendation would be to remain on course so that we can continue to test the process and until it goes through a challenge and an appeal in the courts.
Okay, we have a city ordinance, but that city ordinance would not apply to city-owned land, which this is what we're talking about here, even though...
Commissioner, if we can, yeah, you need to clarify the issue on the city-owned land reference, because that's not...
This legislation is for city-owned property only. It does not apply to every other. It's city-owned property, city-owned venues.
My apologies, because we're...
No, it's not this pilot program.
Not this pilot program.
This is
the
Wynwood. This is the Wynwood district. This is
Yes.
not city-owned property.
This is what I originally was told.
You're thinking of another piece of legislation.
The one that we just passed.
Yeah, you're thinking of that one.
Okay, I'm thinking
Correct.
of it. Okay.
My apologies.
This one is a good one as well.
This is for Wynwood.
This is for the NRD-1.
Yes.
NRD-1.
And it's been extended for one more year based on feedback from, and Mr. Gonzalez is here
Chair,
too.
if I may ask the director a question. And I'm curious how this worked with another ordinance that we have in the books. And that ordinance is that 11 p.m. citywide, and this has been in the books for years, any music outside, whether it's a radio, whatever it is, don't matter how loud, how low, you cannot have. You have to have it indoors. And then indoors, if you, with doors shut, that's what the ordinance says, if you hear it from 100 feet away, then you can't have it. But the ordinance is clear that in any private property in the city, music stops after 11, any kind of music. Doesn't matter how loud, how low. How does this work with this here now?
So one of the concerns that I need to follow up with the manager is, as it's written, this pilot program, it exempts the rest of the ordinance. 36.1, as it relates to excessive, unusual, necessary, as you said, outside music after 11. During this pilot process, this stands on its own and it's separate with its own measurement process,
Well,
right? So there are pros and cons with it.
yeah, I'm very concerned with that.
Right.
Because I'm not as familiar with Wynwood as I am with other residential areas of the city. I do know that we had a lot of complaints that came into my office some time back from one or two buildings from the music. In fact, I was told there was one building that they can rent on one side of the building at all because of the music coming from some of the establishments there. But I'm very concerned this going into other parts of the city. In my district, in Commissioner Reyes' district, in Commissioner De La Portilla's district,
right.
Even here in most of Commissioner King's district, you have a lot of residential areas, and it would be devastating. In fact, I don't see how it would work. So I want to make it clear that I don't want this to be the door to then do away with the ordinance that we have that I just described into the future, and this becomes the norm.
Well,
Point well
because we are just extending the
Right.
pilot program, we would have to make it a program. So we have one more year to study it, see its application, and how well it does. And he will be able to give us more information as a part of the Wynwood.
Before that, I want to ask him a question.
Yes, sir.
You stated that the program is working fine. Could you define when you said fine, what do you mean?
So the process was developed by the Business Improvement District, the
Yes.
businesses therein. One of the challenges that we have in our current process is when the excessively loud music, it takes place right next door to the business, right? Abutting one to the other. And when that happens, the 100-foot distance does not come into effect. This is, I think, a major contribution that this pilot is doing, that when there comes a time for us to assess, that I think we should definitely take into consideration. There is one venue that for the last year has had number of issues, and we are now ready to proceed with the potential revocation of the BTR. And I say potential because we may give them one more chance. But as it relates to process, as it relates to the escalating fines, those things are good. And these are things that I'd like to replicate moving forward for citywide. But
Wait. What do you mean by citywide?
Citywide-
Replicate this, because I don't want this.
No, sir.
there we go.
The progression of fines.
Oh, the
which
progression
right now-
of fines,
right,
okay.
Which is something that
Okay.
I've been talking about from day
Okay,
one.
that's,
So that's something that,
I want to specify
Yes.
that because I want to be clear
yes,
that there is not in the works there is not in the planning, of anybody's plan to extend this program to all the neighborhoods.
It's only for Wynwood. at this
Okay,
point in
it's
time.
only for Wynwood. One more year, if it doesn't work, it would do away with it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Last question.
Yes, sir.
How many complaints have you received from residents there?
So we have data, the majority are complaint-driven, the vast majority, and I am in the midst of doing the assessment, but we have a total of 53 citations during a period of 1 year. Some of them have been progressive. So these are the ones that are valid. So I don't want to make up numbers, but probably in the vicinity of 80 complaints.
Residents?
Residents
or
and businesses.
other businesses?
Yes.
Because I do understand it, that if you have loud music in one establishment that is next to another establishments that are real loud music, you see, they're going to be competing, one is going to be complaining about the other. I'm not interested about that. I'm interested about the residents.
Right. So I can tell you right now, Commissioner, I'll be happy to drill down.
Please do, to keep it
check individually.
when it comes again.
Now, the
Because it will
Wynwood
come
bid,
again.
the Wynwood bid is interesting because the majority.
Mr. Director, let's let him speak because I think my colleagues are in agreement that we're going to allow it to go as a pilot program another year. Let's give him an opportunity to speak.
Good morning, members of the commission. My name is Manny Gonzalez, Executive Director of the Wynwood Business Improvement District since 2017, and I was in Coconut Grove since 2009 in the bid over there. So to give you some history, pre-pandemic, there was an explosion of basically Wynwood, as always, is a very busy and energetic district. It welcomes everybody. So I report to a board of 7. That board includes owners of these residential complexes. So what we did was, with the commissioner at the time, we reached out to New York and to other big cities to find out exactly how would we be able to replicate how they solve these issues in dense areas like this. We then created a report, we submitted it to the city, we created thresholds. The issue that was the biggest one was what you had mentioned, Commissioner. You have 2 entertainment, a restaurant and a lounge. So when the 100 feet comes into effect, the officer gets there, but you really can't find the source because it's like, so what did we do? We added a draft pilot program that calls for our office to purchase these machines, these noise meters. What happens now is, and don't get it, it really happens, businesses report to other businesses as competition. So what we end up doing is the officers, even the police officers and code compliance have these machines. They could come up to a site, they could actually meet the manager, take what the decibel level. Sir, you need to drop it to these levels as prescribed in this resolution and ordinance. Now, the compliance or police officer could come back in an hour. And if that is up, he takes the picture, you're in violation, close this up. And then that's how his department begins with fines. Luckily, I was at the center of this whole noise thing, so personally to me, it's brought calm to the entire district. The board unanimously approves it, and we just respectfully ask that you help us continue to not go back to those pre-pandemic wild heydays. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
No, thank you. And as you have said, Wynwood is different. Wynwood is the heart of activity every single day, and this measure seems to be working for all. So thank you for your support in allowing us to continue to test it for another year as a pilot. So I have a motion and a second for SR 1 through 4. All in favor?
Chair, the title needs to be read into the record.
Victoria.
An ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 54, Article 1 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended, titled Streets and Sidewalks in General, and Chapter 54, Article 8 of the City Code, titled Streets and Sidewalks, Use of Public Rights-of-Way by Communication Systems, to update the established process and requirements for construction, placement, installation, and maintenance of communications facilities in the public right-of-way containing a severability clause and providing for an effective date. SR2, an ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 2-33 of the City Code of Miami, Florida, as amended, titled Administration, Mayor, and City Commission, Order of Business, Rules of Procedures, to limit when members of the public may donate speaking time to other members of the public containing a severability clause and providing for an effective date. SR3, an ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 18, Article 9, Division 2 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended, titled Financial Integrity Principles, more specifically, amending the reserve policies, financial oversight and reporting, evaluation committees, basic financial policies, and other provisions of Section 18-542 of the City Code containing a severability clause, providing for an immediate effective date. SR4, an ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 36, Section 36-4 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended, titled Noise, Operation of Radios, Phonographs, or Other Sound-Making Devices, Bands, Orchestras, and Musicians generally, exemption, further amending Section 36-5 of the City Code, titled Same Hours of Operation of Jukeboxes, Radios, etc., exemption for events of city-owned property, relaxation to extend the pilot program for noise disturbances within the NRD 1 district in the City of Miami for 1 further year, containing a severability clause and providing for an immediate effective date.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Madam Chair, is there any way, since we have our special counsel here and the item, we could dispense of it before lunch? Is there any way we could call PZ 12?
I'd like to defer PZ 5 and 6 until our next meeting.
Okay.
PZ 5 and 6.
Okay. And need a motion for that?
Yes.
I move it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And I have a special request. It's up to my colleagues to take PZ 12 out of order. We can go through all of the PZ items, 1, 2, 3, 4,
Okay, I wanna,
5, 7, 8, 9, and 11, 9, 10, and 11. So okay, but can we pass PZ 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11?
In your district, what is this all about? It's confusing the way it reads here.
Hold on a second, let me get to it.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
so I do have 2 substitutions on 2 of the PZ items.
Okay. Director, can you read PZ 1,
Yeah,
please?
has to do with an exemption on alcohol license. What is this entitled? And I don't want to set precedents without knowing what they are.
Commissioner Carollo, you have a question on PZ 1?
Yes. What is this all about?
So, sir, PZ1 is actually requesting an exception to have an alcohol service establishment in an existing hotel. So because the code requires for this item to come to commission, because it exceeds 5,000 square feet, that's why it's before commission today.
So the code says that you, in order to have a alcohol service establishment in a hotel, it's got to be less than 5,000 square feet?
Well, it requires the exception process, which requires for us to provide additional conditions. And so this location's in Wynwood. There has to be a limitation on the hours of operation. So that's the purpose of this request, sir.
It's a pretty big establishment.
Yes.
Right, it's the Arlo Hotel, and they're not asking to extend the time period to serve alcohol. They want to do it within the time frame of the ordinance, the existing ordinance. They're not asking for anything special.
That's correct.
Okay.
How big of a place are they going to have for the bar and the lounge and nightclub or whatever it is?
It's a regular, it's not anything extravagant. It's not going to create any.
But how many additional square feet are they building there?
It's already built. It's already built. They just need to get their license. They
Yeah.
just need to get the approval for their
Right,
license.
but what I'm trying to ascertain is how many square feet are they going to have?
How big is it?
How big is it?
Go ahead. It's quite nice. You should have dinner there.
Hi, Ian Bachakov with Ackerman on behalf of the applicant. It's just over 6,000 square feet.
All right, well, it's in your district, so.
No, and I've gone there. I've seen this project go up. It's much needed. It's the only hotel in Wynwood. Can you imagine accommodating that number of folks every week, weekend? It's a fantastic space.
How many units are in the hotel?
How many keys?
217 units in the hotel.
Well, there's no way you're going to fill that bar
It's,
with the units in the hotel, so this is for the locals.
So, Victoria, could you please read the title into the record so we can vote on PZ1?
PZ1 doesn't require me to read it. It's just a resolution.
Okay, so I have a motion,
Second?
a
Yeah,
motion and a
motion second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Move PC2 with the amendments that we made before that were very clear.
Yes, the DDA, and if there are DDA boundaries, and if there are any legal challenges, that was placed in
Right.
this second reading.
But I am, well, I will accept it like that, but when you said illegal, we're opening up the door to anybody to make a challenge. And if they challenge, it is our final decision, the one that is going to decide. But by doing that, Commissioner Carollo, we are opening the door to a challenge. And I am not in favor of doing it I know you're concerned, but for now, we don't have any problem with that because a challenge, when we do it, we said it's going to be a challenge, and then if anybody that wants to hurt us, it's going to be a challenge, and I don't agree with it.
Then we could deal with it at the same time, but you voted on this.
Yes, we did.
The last time.
But I believe that, Madam City Attorney, if there is a challenge and we want to fight that challenge, we'll still be able to.
Well, I'm not saying that we don't fight it if we don't want to. We could fight it.
No, but the amendment that you placed, it said that once there is a
The
challenge.
ordinance comes back, yeah.
That's right. Then you stop the ordinance. You say then people will have to pick the
Right.
chairs and the tables and bring it in.
Right now, my vote is on the ordinance the way we originally
I
approved
do
it.
understand that, sir.
If in the future we have that problem, we could revisit it and we could go from there.
Okay, I just want you to know that we probably will have to revisit, and it's going to stay in the same area, but.
We could revisit it in the future. if
Okay.
necessary.
So I have a motion and a second.
And a second, yes.
Victoria, can you please read it into the record?
Madam Chair, there is a friendly amendment by the mayor's office on this legislation.
Can you read the friendly amendment into the record, please?
So the way the legislation is written today is that outdoor dining is going to require parking citywide, regardless if you're in the DDA area, if you exceed more than 50% of the floor area ratio. So the friendly amendment is under section 6.3.2.2. It states under that section, outdoor dining areas containing seating in an amount greater than 50% of the overall establishment seating capacity shall be counted toward the floor area and floor lot ratios required by city code. The friendly amendment is except within established parking trust areas. So that's what the mayor's office is requesting, is this area would be exempt if you're in a parking trust fund area. You don't have to meet the parking requirements.
In downtown, I think that is necessary. I accept the friendly amendment.
Okay, thank you.
And
I accept that as well.
What does the administration say?
administration is not paying attention.
Reading an email. Yeah, we're fine with it, yeah. I'm absolutely fine with it.
Is the mayor here that,
No, it's sent it. Okay.
He's not here now.
Okay. Okay.
all right,
And-
Let's vote on it.
I'll second it.
I just wanted to clarify that the legislation as drafted right now is if there is a legal challenge, it'll be brought back to the commission to repeal. That's
Okay.
all.
Okay, good.
Okay, so can you read it, read
Well,
PZ3, the title?
The way that it was that it would automatically would have been repealed. That'd be brought back.
Right, the problem is that
Can you
there
accept
may
that?
be a
Bring it back
deleg,
so we can
so
find-
it could be considered an unlawful delegation, so that's why we have to bring it back for the repeal.
Okay, so
And
can
we
you
take
read,
action then.
read the title into the record so we can?
So PZ2 is what I'm reading right now.
Yes.
An ordinance of the Miami City Commission with attachments amending ordinance number 13114, the zoning ordinance of the city of Miami, Florida, is amended specifically by amending Article 6 titled Supplemental Regulations to provide clarification and additional standards regarding outdoor dining and open-air retail, allowing outdoor dining by right in certain circumstances, making findings containing a severability clause, and providing for an effective date as amended by the friendly amendment from the mayor's office.
All in favor? Aye.
Can we do PZ12 then?
No, wait. I'm trying to see if I can get rid of all of these and then just take up PZ12. Do you guys have any issue with PZ3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11?
Madam Chair, I do have an amendment for PZ3.
Do you guys have a need to discuss PZ3 through PZ11?
To come up, and by the way, Jennings, disclosure, my staff spoke, I believe, to this attorney here, to Ben Fernandez, certainly the law firm.
Okay, so can we pass PZ3?
Yes.
Okay, Victoria, can you read PZ3 into the record?
An ordinance of the Miami City Commission with attachments amending ordinance number 10544 as amended the Miami Comprehensive Neighborhood Plan of the City of Miami pursuant to expedited state review process subject to section 163-3184 Florida statutes by removing the Buena Vista Yards Regional Activity Center and any references to such matter, creating the Buena Vista Yards Intensity Preservation Area and amending Appendix LU1 to update the future land use map series, making findings containing a severability clause and providing for an effective date. Are you amending the legislation as amended?
Yes.
Yes, as amended.
Yes, thank you. I need to read that into the record. So you should have a hard copy. 8 state agencies was contacted on this policy update, received 1 comment in regards to a Scrivener's error in our map, so that's what's being updated as part of this request.
Thank you. So I have a motion and a second for PZ3.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so let's bypass PZ4 because you have questions. What about PZ7, 8, 9, 10, and 11?
Move PC10, PC7, PC8, it's fine.
PZ9 is it's the same.
PC9 is good to go also.
PZ10,
And we get to this PC10. It's also fine.
and 11 is a companion item.
And PC11,
It's the companion item for 10.
yeah, it's fine.
Okay, Victoria, can you read?
And,
W-
okay, PC12, we're holding on.
Right, we're holding off. So Victoria, can you read for the record the titles for PZ7, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11.
Yes. PZ 7, an ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending ordinance number 13114, the zoning ordinance of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended by amending Appendix C, Midtown Overlay District, Section 627.16, titled Business Placement and Buildable Area, Section 627.2.6, titled Building Placement and Buildable Area, Section 627.2.7, titled Maximum Height, Build to Minimum Setback and Use Requirements, and Section 627.2.12, titled Surface Parking and Parking Garages, containing a severability clause and providing for an effective date. PZ 8, an ordinance of the Miami City Commission with attachments amending ordinance number 10544, as amended the Miami Comprehensive Neighborhood Plan pursuant to expedited state review procedures established in Section 1633184 Florida statutes by amending the text within the Miami Comprehensive Neighborhood Plan, specifically striking or replacing references to the neighborhood enhancement team within the future land use element, addressing the geography of the neighborhood enhancement team areas for the parks, recreation, and open space element, providing an appendix to the parks, recreation, and open space element, which maps the neighborhood enhancement team areas, making findings containing a severability clause and providing for an effective date. PZ 9, an ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending ordinance number 13114, the zoning ordinance of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended by amending Article 1, titled Definitions, Article 6, titled Supplemental Regulations, amending Article 7, titled Procedures and Nonconformities, and Appendix A, titled Neighborhood Conservation District, to replace or strike references to the Neighborhood Enhancement Team from the Miami 21 Code, making findings containing a severability clause and providing for an effective date. And PZ 10, an ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending ordinance number 13114, the zoning ordinance of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended by amending Article 5, Section 5.3.4, titled Parking Standards, to modify and simplify regulations related to driveways in T3 Transit Zone, providing for a severability clause and providing for an immediate effective date. And PZ 11, an ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending ordinance number 13114, the zoning ordinance of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended by amending Article 6, Section 6.1, titled Intent and Exclusions, to modify Table 13 to allow for additional height to fences and walls enclosing infrastructure and utilities, providing a severability clause and providing for an immediate effective date.
I have a motion and a second.
Yes,
Who's the mover?
I was.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Madam Chair, for PZ 5 and 6, I know that we've reset those, but unfortunately, there's a new state law, a new case, which is being appealed right now. It just came out last week. But it states that before second readings, you need to advertise again. So we will not be able to have it for next meeting. It would have to be for the March 23rd meeting.
fine.
Because we missed the advertising.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay,
So let's take PZ 4.
yes, Ben.
Yeah, they have all the graphics.
On the area that you're asking for us to rezone, what percent of the approximate 100 or so units that you're building there are coming from the new area?
From the rezoning,
Yeah,
it's really a net increase of 12 units. Through the chair, good morning, Madam Chair, Ben Fernandez, 200 South Biscayne Boulevard, for the record, commissioners. Commissioner Carollo, really the change from T4 to T5 is approximately a 12-unit density increase. Right now, you could develop up to 24 units on that site. The rest would come from the existing T68, which is the restaurant, the old Rancho Luna restaurant that faces 22nd Avenue. That's the larger property. This is a smaller property to the east of it.
okay, that's all that I wanted. I move.
I have a motion and a second. Victoria, did you read the title into the record for PZ 4?
Not
Please.
PZ 4.
Please.
An ordinance of the Miami City Commission with attachments amending the zoning atlas of ordinance number 13114, the zoning ordinance of the City of Miami, Florida as amended by changing the zoning classifications from T4R, General Urban Transit Zone Restricted, to T5R, Urban Center Transit Zone Restricted for the property located at approximately 2170 Northwest Flagler Terrace, Miami, Florida, and from T680 Urban Core Transit Zone Open to T68L Urban Core Transit Zone Limited for the property located at approximately 45 Northwest 22nd Avenue, Miami, Florida, as more particularly described in Exhibit A, further recommending to the City Commission acceptance of the voluntary proffered covenant attached and incorporated at Exhibit B, making findings containing a severability clause and providing for an effective date.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to take up a pocket item, D1, is it pocket item P1?
PI1, yes, ma'am.
PI1. Mr. City Clerk?
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Diaz de la Portilla would like to appoint Jose Garcia to the Code Enforcement Board.
Move.
All in favor? Aye.
Can we ask if anybody wanted to speak about that really quick?
Is there anyone here that would like to speak on behalf of this item for public comment? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. I have a Jennings disclosure for PZ 12. And at this time, we can take up.
And you met with the Dade Heritage Trust? Is that your disclosure? For
None.
PZ 12?
I met with a number of folks. I'm not attorneys. I met with the mayor of the village of Key Biscayne, and it's probably not a Jennings disclosure, but I met with the new advisory board member that was appointed prior to becoming appointed. And I think that's it.
Madam Chair, now that you're talking about Jennings discussion, I don't know if it had the disclosure, I don't know if it is, requires a Jennings disclosure, but I was yesterday in my office, the lady came by and gave me a packet. You see, we didn't.
That is Christine Rupp.
That's
from
right.
Dade Heritage.
I want to make it clear that she came to the office, gave me a packet. That's it.
Thank you.
Did we get a packet, Will? Oh, okay, well, that don't count then.
That don't count. You didn't see it. You didn't receive it.
No. Okay, I'd like to
I
make...
don't know if I received a packet. You did. Okay, I wasn't in the office yesterday,
Okay.
so I didn't see
All
the
right.
packet.
If I could make a motion, Madam Chair?
Motion?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we deny the appeal as filed and
second.
grant the exception.
Approve the exception.
Commissioners, this is a quasi judicial
So we have to
hearing, so we
allow-
just need to have both sides speak, and then they may be, Mr. Silver may want to ask some questions, so it could be limited in time, but we have to go through.
Okay, 3 minutes.
Yes, Scott Silver, 2980 McFarlane Road. I would state,
You're not the Silver running for office, are you?
Scott Silver, not Mr.
Oh, okay.
Zilber. I'm,
Okay.
sounds like it, but not that. I would, merely as a technicality, since it is a quasi-judicial proceeding, I would ask that Commissioner Reyes and Commissioner Carollo recuse themselves, having already stated their desire to deny this. I just want to make that statement.
All right,
For
that's
the-
not
for the re-
necessary.
For the record.
Okay, for the record, got it.
So I just wanted to clarify for the record that there can always be a motion to start the discussion, then they will listen to all the evidence as presented, and then they can make the motion again, or continue with a different motion at that time after all the evidence is presented. So thank you, Mr. Silva.
So we
I
need a
withdraw
motion to
I
listen?
withdraw my motion.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we are going to hear testimony now regarding this issue.
Convince me.
On behalf of Dade Heritage Trust, we're not saying that there should never be a boat ramp anywhere on Virginia Key. There's a process by which a master plan was derived. We've provided you a packet, and I believe if they've been distributed, we have additional copies if you need them. There was a process whereby boat ramps were proposed, but the ultimate master plan for Virginia Key that was presented did not include those in this area. It included over by Jimbo's, it included in another location, and Christine Rupp is providing you with the packet, an additional copy of the packet. So it's clear that even though there may have been what I will call remnants of the prior boat ramp that was there, it's totally degraded. Part of it is a concrete seawall that's there. We don't have to get into the logistics of, candidly, of what's there, what remnants are there or not. What they're proposing is impacting on potentially impacting on what you do with this in the future. This could become a Marina Del Rey, this could become a pristine park, this could become a concert facility. We don't know what it's going to be. We know what the master plan is. And
I'm sorry.
Commissioner, please don't. He has 3 minutes. and
Well,
it's gonna take up
no,
his
we'll
time.
give him the extra time, but are you saying that we should make the Bassin a Marina Del Rey? That would require hundreds of slips.
I'm not saying what you should do. I'm
Well,
just
but
saying.
you were saying that this could become, so then you're in favor of really just making the Bassin into a Marina Del Rey, which would mean the whole basin is going to be full of slips. Otherwise, you can't call it a Marina Del Rey. So you might want to walk that back.
What I'm saying is we don't know what this is ultimately going to become, but because what we're doing here.
Well, that you're right. We don't know what it's ultimately going to become because just like the original master plan that we had back in the late 90s was changed, we could change this one too.
They can change the one that's.
We could put people that actually live in the city of Miami to be part of that board, not people that don't live in the city of Miami.
The master plan, as it stands now, does not provide for a boat slip in that area. And what you're doing is you're taking a 45-acre site, and this isn't just the impact of the ramp that goes up in this corner right next to the Marine Stadium. It's the parking field that's here. You have to provide a rotary area that allows enough room for a truck and a boat trailer to circle around, and that knocks out almost 2.5 acres. That becomes essentially unusable because you're encircling it with an area.
That circle basically was always there.
No, it's not there now.
Back from where the HUD was, there was a time that they expanded towards the Marine Stadium site, the parking for the boat ramp even. I remember that. That was taken back.
And I think you're right. What we need to do is maintain the flexibility. Let me get to the core of this. The reason this is being pursued is because there's a fined Florida Inland Navigation District grant of $1.25 million that's to pay for the ramp. If we accept that as a grant, and that's what's driving the whole thing, if we accept that, the conditions under the fine grant, and I would just ask that you guys impose some sort of a condition on this, because this is moving forward something that takes up a third of the land area of the Marine Stadium and could impact on the overall redevelopment of this, is that there be some condition that you can recover this land, that you're not stuck with a parking field that basically is going to drive the bus on what eventually can go here. This is inconsistent with the master plan, and if you approve this, first of all, it did not comply with any of before the PZAB, it required that they, one second, let me get to the page here. It required that they preserve natural and geological features wherever possible. They say that that's complied with. That's not, because it's not preserving the geological features. It's putting two new piers 90 feet into the water.
Excuse me, but this was a boat ramp originally. It was a boat ramp, and it would have had all of the issues that you're speaking about, parking and all of that, right?
No. The aerial.
This was not a boat ramp before?
It was.
It was a boat ramp before.
It was
a boat ramp that authorized motorized boats to go into water from there.
It was a boat ramp that was originally designed, and we have the historic photos, and I think they're part of the record already, that was used. That area was a pit for the boats that raced. It was a pit area because it went off of it had a little barrier island to prevent the wake from the other boats coming in, where they would bring them in. It became used by the public, and there was an ordinance that said for $2
Absolutely.
you could use the lift. Yeah, no.
So it was a boat ramp that was used by the public.
And
That's what I'm trying. It was a boat ramp
It was
used by the public.
it was a non-permitted boat ramp. It was, practically speaking, there was concrete placed there on that, and that's not really what we're arguing about today. Okay, that's not,
Madam Chair, may I ask him something that I asked before? We are asking, what we arguing is about the increase in size, because you cannot argue against a boat ramp since we have an ordinance that says that a boat ramp should be there. You say, that's what I said, your concern is about the basin or the size of the boat ramp, but just saying that we shouldn't have a boat ramp there, that is illegal. No, because there is an ordinance that states that we have to have a boat ramp there. That's what are we arguing here?
our concern is accepting something that comes with a fined grant. When you accept a grant, you're obliged to provide the facilities that support that ramp. So the facilities that support that ramp under the plan as...
Well, if you're concerned about the fine grant, I see the fine grant guru here, and he can explain to us what the fine grant comes with. So I've had several conversations with the fine grant guru, and I understand that it is their mission and purpose to make our waterways accessible for the public.
And I've worked with Fine. I'm a former chairman of Shake a Leg. I've worked with them. I understand what's needed. I understand about public access. I understand that there are other boat ramps, and I'm not saying that there should never be a boat ramp here. We're saying this one did not meet the criteria of the Planning and Zoning Board, which is why we're appealing it, and it has the potential, unless there is a clear reversionary clause, and if Mr. Crowley can assert that we have the right to simply pay that off.
You're appealing the Planning and Zoning Board's recommendation?
Yes.
I
Yes.
understand. Are you finished with your presentation?
Yes, subject to hearing what Mr. Crowley has to say.
Okay. I think Ms. Hand was going to speak next. I just know that you're going to give me all the information about the fine grant, so
Sure.
maybe let Ms.
I just wanted to
Hand
make sure, Spencer Crowley for the record, 98 Southeast 7th Street. I'm a resident and I work in Miami. I want to make sure that any questions you all have about the fine grant and the conditions, I answer. No one from the appellant side is qualified to answer any of those questions. They don't know our programs like I do.
Well, that's
I've
why I
served in
called
that
you up.
capacity. I really appreciate it,
That's
and
why I
I'm here
called you up.
to clarify anything. Obviously, we provided the city a $1.25 million grant for this. We support it. I want to be here to answer any questions that may come up about our grant. So thank you.
Well, let me ask you, as a part of the appellant's presentation, I would like to ask Mr. Crowley then.
wait till he comes up. Let's let Ms. Hand speak now. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Amanda Corcan, Special Counsel for the City. Just reminding you that this is just an appeal of the PZAB approval of an exception. The standard on an exception is it shall be approved if it meets the conditions, if it meets the requirements of Miami 21, and in this case it does. There is evidence in the record. The staff recommended approval. I have some supplements for the record, both from PZ, delineating the Article 4, Table 12 criteria, and also from CIP showing that this project has been reviewed by the Army Corps of Engineers, the FDEP, and Durham, and all three agencies have already issued the permits. So this is only for the extension of the dock from 35 feet to 90 feet into the water and restriping of the existing parking lot to accommodate trailers. That's it. So I can see that you are well-versed on this item. The Fine Commissioner is here to answer questions specifically about the grant, but this project is not being driven by the grant. It's being driven by public access to the water, and I know that you can understand that issue.
Thank you.
Ms. Hand, I just wanted to clarify that is the record from below, from PZAB, being also placed here before City Commission?
Yes, the record from PZAB has already been brought up to the City Commission. It's being entered into the record. These materials are supplements. They have been provided to the appellant prior to this time.
Thank you. Mr. Crowley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, Spencer Crowley, 98 Southeast 7th Street for the record. I'm the Miami-Dade County Fine Commissioner. I've served in that capacity since 2007. We provided tens of millions of grants to the city of Miami to increase public accessibility to the waterfront. Miami-Dade County has a huge shortage of public access to the water. There's about 55,000 boats that need access to trailer slips, and we have less than 1,000 of those slips here in the county. We believe that this is a very important project for the city of Miami residents. Many of our residents, live in neighborhoods near me, the Roads, Shenandoah, out west in Flagami. These are blue-collar people who keep their boats in their yards. They want to be able to enjoy the waterways with their families, and in order to do that, they have to trailer their boats to ramps. They can't afford marinas. Even if they could afford marinas, there's long wait lists. So to the specific issue about use of the ramp during events, of course, Find does not have a problem closing the ramp during events. As you may know, most recently during the Coconut Grove Arts Festival, Seminole Boat Ramp was closed down. We have in the past provided funding for Seminole Boat Ramp, and we have no problem closing ramps during special events. That's not an issue. It's totally incorrect, and you shouldn't listen to that. We really believe this is an important project for the city, and I think that all of these concerns that have been lobbed out are not necessarily genuine, and I really hope that you all will support this ramp, because I think it's very, very important for the city of Miami residents to have this as a public amenity. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Crowley, and
Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much to clarify that, and also to stress that there are many people that they cannot afford to have their boat in a ramp. I mean, someplace in a marina or one of those storage areas, and they have it in the backyard, and they want to enjoy the water too. We have to. I think it's our duty to provide them with a facility.
Sir, do you have a response to what?
Yes, I do. I have a question, Mr. Crowley, and again, I don't want to minimize what Fine does is important and very valuable to the city. I don't doubt that, and have dealt with them in many ways. I just asked Mr. Crowley, under the terms of the Fine grant, if this parking field needed to be changed for future development, are there any conditions under the Fine grant that would prevent us from either changing or eliminating the parking field?
A change to a project would come before our board.
Okay.
We would approve it if it is in the interest of public access to the waterways.
And if Fine did not approve it, then the parking field that's designated on this plan is covering approximately 15 out of the 45 acres. The city would be obliged to continue that if Fine, in other words, we're delegating to Fine the decision as to what to do with it.
The city's not delegating anything to Fine. That's a total mischaracterization.
But if we're granting and agreeing to conditions or covenants under the Fine grant, are you saying that if the Fine board does not approve us making changes to this, that the city, once we accept the grant, we can't change that parking field?
No, I'm not saying that.
And
Okay,
I believe that your questions are premature because that is not what is before us here. Right now, what is before us is merely deciding whether to uphold or deny PZAB's recommendation. That's what's before us right now.
Correct, and the condition.
So let's stay with that because that's outside of the scope of what we're dealing with.
No, I
right
am,
now.
because the conditions under the PZAB include whether you're providing adequate landscaping, parking, pedestrian connectivity. So if we're stuck with
But
it.
it hasn't, that has not been determined what would be adequate, what would be, the
Nothing like that has
design
been
has not come forward.
My
It hasn't come before us as yet. So I believe, Victoria, can you weigh in here if I'm correct, that what is appropriately before us is whether or not we are going to accept or deny PZAB's recommendation?
Right, so there is an appeal by Dade Heritage Trust, and they have to put on the record the reasons why you would grant this appeal.
I believe he has done that.
And be,
Right, he's put on the record for
Right.
you to decide now if you're going to deny the appeal or grant his appeal.
Okay, and I believe you have sufficiently put on the record.
which is why I'm asking for his response, so I can complete the record. All right,
He's asking-
the question is, do we need to have find board approval to change this parking arrangement?
No.
If this passes? The answer is no?
No.
Okay.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Before, I just
There's
wanted, Mr. Silver, is there anything else that you wish to place on the record?
No, just the matters that were included within our packet. We'd ask
Okay,
that,
and the packet has been, Todd, you've received the full package? That's right. Okay,
yes, provided to the clerk and to
and to
all
the
council members.
commissioners? Okay.
Ms.
Okay,
Han,
and
have
then
you,
making of the motion.
Ms. Han, have you completed your presentation? Is there anything else that you would like to put on the record?
Yes, just a reminder that this is an appeal of an exception to take the dock from 35 feet to 90 feet into the water. And there's competent substantial evidence in the record that that is the minimum required to provide a functioning boat ramp in this location.
And
There's a motion.
And there's a second.
And there's a
Now,
second.
While making the motion, let me say on the record that I haven't heard anything whatsoever that would make me change my mind on anything that I have heard before. When Mr. Silver first came up before, and I asked him questions. At the same time, let me put in the record, section 53-52, regulations generally, over city code, on 7, the public shall have access to the boat, hoist, and boat ramp facilities at the Marine Stadium during daylight hours at times when events are not being conducted. There's hereby established a fee of $5 as payment for the use of the boat hoist, but there should be no charge for the use of the boat ramp. As staff has stated, this includes going from 35 feet to only 90 feet, an additional 55 feet only that we're extending the ramp. The need, as I had stated before, for regular Miamians to have access to the water is tremendous.
Yep.
We do not have boat ramps anywhere that would suffice the need that's out there. The attorney, Silver, mentioned the Jimbo's site, that this wonderful board that was established before I was here, but after I left, that hardly any of them live in the city of Miami, had established. Well, as I understand it, on the Jimbo's boat ramp, you're not supposed to have motorboats there. It's only for kayaks and non-motorized boats. So even that is not accurate in what he presented. So what I'm seeing here is by the wonderful people from Mount Olympus that they're trying to see how they could just cut off access to the bay to the vast majority of regular residents. And we have an obligation not to let that happen. You know, Miami cannot be a city only for the rich and famous. And that's what a few are trying to make it. Whether it's in housing, whether it's access to the water, whether it's where you go and eat, or anything else in between, some are trying to make it into that. And we have an obligation to represent the vast majority of our city residents to have the same rights as those that are more affluent have.
So can you, for the record, restate your motion?
The motion is a motion denying the appeal filed by Christine Rupp on behalf of the Day Heritage Trust and granting the exception.
Approve the exception.
Yeah.
Affirming the
Yes,
exception.
to
Affirming
approve,
the
affirming,
exception.
grant the exception.
Okay.
I second that motion, and based on what I have stated before, the need for access to water, particularly those that own boats and they keep in that. I mean, they cannot afford, or because of scarcity, or because they're too high, the price is too high. So we have that duty, and to the fact that I think that this argument has been diverted because what presented to us is it is an argument against extending the dock, and that's all it is. That's all it is. The boat ramp by ordinance is legal. It should be there. As a matter of fact, we should have had it there, okay? So, taking this conversation or this argument into what could happen in the future, which is what if. You see, that's not what we're arguing here. What if somebody wants to develop a marine stadium and needs the parking? What if? We are not ruling on what if. We are ruling what it is now, on what should be there, and what is the intent. The intent is just to increase the number of feet that boat ramp has.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
As amended.
As amended. Motion carries. And at this time,
Change the tape.
Chair, just for the record, PZ5 and PZ6 were...
because it cannot be heard on the 9th, I need to have a motion to defer PZ5 and PZ6.
Move it.
If I could,
Second.
if I could just get a motion to reconsider first.
I need a motion to
Motion to
reconsider
reconsider.
Second.
and a motion to
And the-
defer.
and
Let's vote first.
in the vote, yes, sir.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries
Motion to defer.
to the
Second.
23rd of March. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. This concludes the City of Miami Commission meeting for February 23rd, 2023. If you
Hallelujah.
guys can stick around just a second for our Overtown CRA
Yes.
meeting, very quick.
Change the tape, please.
We need it quick. It's got to run. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay, we'll get we'll get to finish another meeting.
Chair,
Okay, give us
we're good to
another-
go.
We're going to start the
Yeah. She'll get a hold of you.
Southeast
Okay, so-
Overtown
Yeah,
Park West Community Redevelopment meeting at this time. Overtown CRA.
Yeah, but we got to do this, okay?
Are you guys ready?
Yes, we are. Yes, ma'am.
Please go ahead and start, Mr. Chair.
Good morning. We just want to announce that we will be continuing our meeting until March 9th,
No.
2023.
Basically, you're just continuing agenda items 1 through 5 to March 23rd.
Correct.
So
Yes.
March 23rd.
So we just need a motion?
March 23rd?
Move it by Commissioner Carroya, second
Wait,
by
to the
me.
23rd?
No, 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 no,
to
no,
the-
no, no,
to
hold
the-
on, hold on. No. The meeting is continued.
Oh, March 9th.
To
You're
March
doing
9th, correct.
Okay.
Okay. And can you explain why the meeting is being continued?
Because the items
No,
on the agenda.
the meeting's not being continued. You're just continuing these items
Continuing the.
to a meeting that
yes,
you're going to have
yes.
on March 9th.
Yes, Todd, yes, we're continuing the items until March 9th because we don't have four-fifths.
Right.
And we need four-fifths to move all of the items.
Have been moved.
So we have a motion
And a second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries
Thank you very
unanimously.
much.
This concludes the. I got
Mr. Executive Director, Mr. Executive Director.
I know your request, sir. It will be addressed rather soon, during the next meeting, sir.
It's about RIPS?
Yeah, your concerns will be addressed at the next meeting,
Oh,
March
okay.
9th.
So the ones here today are not yours.
I know, okay, but March 9th, this will be addressed
Okay.
promptly
Can I be informed on what the request is? It started with R.
Starts with R.
I'm required to bring ribs.
Oh, okay. I second the motion.
Thank you. Have a good day.